guys? Welcome once again to the Young Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Angel Santos, and as you already can see here, mindset is everything and always will be everything. I always say, I was thinking to myself, I was coaching myself today, right during the day, and I was like, if your mindset is in the correct path, it is everything, right? If your mindset is coachable, if your mindset is receiving the correct information, then everything along with it will go through finances, your business, family, friends, marriage, everything. Everything's going to follow the rest as long as your mindset, right? Because imagine the body without the head. What's going to happen? It's going to be everywhere, right? As a matter of fact, the body won't even function. So the mind is the chip, is the computer up here. So, anyways, I just want to throw that out there, guys. I'm excited to be here once again. Thank you for joining. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. I greatly appreciate it. Give a big thumbs up. Also on Facebook, thumbs up, comment below, share. I appreciate any feedback you could give me, whether if it's positive feedback or even some kind of criticism. I'll take it as positive. I'll work with it. Trust me. I'm here to learn. I'm not the one that knows it all. I don't know anything at all. 'Cause my mind's always blank and fresh, a fresh page every day to learn something new. So today I'm gonna have a special guest. His name is Jared. He found me on Facebook, right? And he wrote to me. He said, "Hey, would you take in any requests?" I'm like, "Absolutely. What requests do you have?" So that's why we're here today, because we set this date, we separated this date and this time for him to drop a lot of knowledge. So I am excited to have him. Jared, this guy is what he does for business owners is that he teaches them how to think at a higher level, right? To be able to see the whole picture, from that outside looking in, right? So that's what he does, and this guy does a lot of things. He's into music. He's a musician. He's into skydiving. I seen there out there. Man, this guy is a mountain climbing or bike ride. This guy's into everything. All right, guys. So get your pen and pad. I got everything here ready. I'm so excited. So, guys, if you're watching me over here on Instagram, go to YouTube and Facebook. Look me up, the Young Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast. Without further ado, let's go ahead and receive this fantastic man, friend of mine. I just met him recently, so I'm going to get to know him on a personal level as well. So, Jared, how are you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys. Glad to be here.
Good, man. Thank you so much, man. And for my audience that is gonna get to know you, I wanna first of all, I wanna thank you for your time. I know busy schedule, but we made it through the lions, tigers, and bears, like they say, and we're finally here. So, first of all, how was your weekend, man? Everything good?
Weekend was great. My little boy plays Little League Baseball, so most of my life is tied up in Little League Baseball.
I
And
remember you saying
this
that.
weekend,
Yeah.
we made it to the gold bracket. We made it to the final tournament. That was exciting. We didn't get the win
Ah,
at the final tournament, but it was nice. The boys played hard. They really did play hard.
wow, that's
That was
cool,
good.
man.
That was good.
That's great. We're going to see him maybe that last name handing in the major leagues one day on the back of a jersey.
Maybe that's a
Hey,
long road,
I,
man. That's a long road. Even if you get drafted, it could be 3
I
years
know.
before you get called up, and you might not ever get called up.
Yeah,
It's
man.
a long road.
I know it is. I know that's a whole nother subject. But anyways, Mr. Hanning, appreciate it, man. Jared, thank you so much for being here and taking from your time. I really greatly, like I always say, I appreciate people's time on this platform because, other than dropping knowledge and whatnot, I know that, busy schedule and whatnot, and you've been featured on a lot of platforms. I've read your bio. But before we get into that, like where you are today, I want to go back. I like going back, kind of like documentaries and going back to where you started, your childhood. How was it like growing up where you grew up? Who was a tough one? Was mom, dad, the tough one? Who was your people that you followed examples, right? Maybe someone outside of the family. Maybe, I don't know. So go ahead and share with the audience your story. I'd be glad to hear that.
So growing up was hard. It was hard. I wanted to run away from home every day.
Wow.
But I knew that it would have been, well, at least in my mind, it seemed like an exercise in futility because I didn't feel like I had anything that would stand up. There
Okay.
wasn't drugs in the house. There wasn't like crime in the house. There wasn't any kind of like physical abuse in the house. But emotionally, it was painful enough that I wanted to run away every day. It was not good. Um, the other question that you asked was like, if there was a tough relationship, was it your mom and your dad? And I have to say it was my mom.
Okay.
My mom tended to be very much controlling of every micro aspect of your life she could get a hold of.
Okay.
And that was that was tough. That was tough growing up.
Yeah.
On the other hand of that, some things that were in that environment is my family has always been kind of entrepreneurial.
Okay.
My dad was self-employed, my sister was self-employed, my brother was self-employed. I've been self-employed my whole life. So
Oh
we just
wow.
kind of grew up in that mindset, that way of thinking. That's like, if I need a job, if I need income, I'm
Yeah.
going to go create the job. I'm going to go create the income. Just
Okay.
a little different way of solving those problems. That strategy there.
Okay.
Specific skill sets maybe that might have been passed down. My dad did get me started in construction. He did show me the basics of plumbing, basics in electrical. And I ended up for about 5 years. I bought houses all over the country. I
Okay.
was featured on ABC Nightline for some of the real estate investing I was doing. So some of those
Wow.
construction skills that he passed down, they did get
Yeah.
leveraged,
They
into
benefit
other
you in a
stuff.
certain way. Yeah.
Yeah. Also passed down. My mom was she played piano. Every Christmas she'd play like the same 5 or 6 songs that she knew how to play.
Okay. Also,
Um,
they got you get your musician skills from there, right? Music.
I did. I did. I probably got that from my mom. I started on piano, and
Okay.
I didn't know how much I hated the piano. I didn't know until I discovered the viola. The viola is like a violin. It's just a little bit bigger.
Right.
It's in the orchestra, and
Okay.
I fell in love with it immediately. And it just became my life. I have 2 college degrees, and it ended up being 20 years professional classical musician. Um, However, at that time, I was talking and teaching people how to access different parts of their brain on demand. And
Okay.
so 10 years ago, I kind of stepped away from that as full time income into solely mindset. So I
Okay.
take people to the mindset gym. We teach them how to do mindset push ups because that's what rewires your way of thinking
Uh-huh.
so you can access those different parts of your brain on demand.
Ah, that's awesome. So after high school, like, what were your plans? What were your plans? Of course, you had, the benefit that you were, like you said, creating your own, job, your own skill. You were creating your own money. Like, but what was your plan after school, high school? Did you go to college or anything like that?
I did. I did. I got my undergraduate in classical music. I got
Okay.
my master's degree in classical music. However, after high school, the question answer there is I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. Um,
Ah,
I enjoyed mechanical stuff, and I thought it would be neat to be somebody who designs, products and
something.
car
Yeah.
engines and vacuum
Yeah.
cleaners. I thought that'd be neat to be a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
Um, but my family was poor, and apparently they were also unsophisticated. And so just the prospect of filling out paperwork and application paperwork and scholarship paperwork, it was just apparently it was too much for my family to handle. So that wasn't going to happen.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, the music department at the university, they're like, hey, we got free money for you. Just come play, come be a music major, come be a music major. We'll pay you to go to school. And
Ah,
so I got a serious scholarship
wow.
for undergraduate, and then my graduate was also free ride graduate school, just for music scholarship.
Okay.
I played very well at that time, and I guess that was
Yeah.
a mindset to the university.
Yeah, I seen some of the YouTube videos that you had sent me in your bio, and I was looking at that was very interesting. That was
Thank
very
you,
interesting
sir.
'cause that's not I think one of the toughest instruments is probably within that area, the violin.
Yeah,
That's
people they say so when I was in music, they would come to me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I want to take violin lessons." I'll be like, "Wait, hold on, hold on. Do you want to be in music? Do you want to make music, or do you specifically want to learn the violin?" They're like, "Well, I want to be in music. I want to be a musician." I'm like, "Okay, then you need to play guitar, you need to play piano, you need to play drums, or you need to join the choir." But
ah,
oboe, French horn, violin, That's a long
Tough.
road to hoe,
That's
man.
tough. Yeah.
I wouldn't, no.
Yeah. Wouldn't recommend it.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to move your way up and whatnot. Okay. So then what after college, what happens after college and whatnot?
Okay, so after college, I had a hard time. Um, so at the university I was at, we had a conductor that had some kind of like social anxiety,
Mm.
and he was just a nervous wreck anytime he was in class with us, which of course filtered to our experience of the quality of that education.
Okay.
So in every university, you've got a handful of students that are the music majors. These are the professionals. This is what they do all day, every day. And
Yeah.
then you have a lot of students that are just playing in the orchestra to kind of fill it out and get a little bit of scholarship money. But they're electrical engineers or nursing majors or whatever it is. So at the end of the year, whenever the students would do the teacher reviews, the majority of the reviews would come back and say, "This is a wonderful experience, very happy. It's a great class." But the majority of the students were non-music majors. They were there just to get their, small check to support
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
other. So they didn't care about the quality. The music
Absolutely.
majors were the ones going, "Oh, you're killing me. I can't keep doing this." And so they would write the reviews and be like, "This is horrible. Get me out of here."
Yeah.
So at the end of 4 years undergraduate, I was miserable. I was not happy.
Wow.
And I had to get out. So I put my instrument down and I didn't play for 4 years. And
Mm.
during that 4 years, I was remodeling houses.
Okay.
So I would paint, remodel, and add on, and carpentry and all that stuff. But that, after 4 years, started to feel empty and unfulfilling. And if you guys are listening, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where the work you were doing started to feel empty and unfulfilling.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that in the podcast. But
Yeah.
so that's where I was at. And my brain said, well, if I'm going to work, I might as well do work that's fulfilling, right?
Right.
So I got back into music. I started asking around, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting back into music. What do you know? What's going on?" And somebody said the University of South Carolina, which is where I live now in South Carolina,
Okay.
is looking for a graduate student. They need a viola. They need a viola graduate assistant. So I applied for that and I got the scholarship. And so I came here for free to get my master's. And it was like, yes, this is what I need to be doing. This is what I was meant to be doing. And so it was back to a very fulfilling, purposeful life.
Ah, okay, that's good. That's a big change. I mean, going from what you were going to that field, but like you said, you had that emptiness. Like, what was that? You didn't feel like you were fulfilling part of your dream, you could say?
Mm, when I was in construction, I felt like anybody could do what I was doing.
Okay.
Anybody.
It didn't challenge you enough.
I mean, I could teach you how to do what I was doing. It wasn't special. It wasn't anybody could do that. That's how I felt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now that I look back on it, I don't believe that is the truth. Like
Okay.
I don't look down on construction workers or
Yeah,
something.
no, of course. Yeah.
Just for me, I felt this is not a good use of my skill set. I can pay anybody minimum wage to hold a paintbrush on a ladder outside of a house. I cannot pay anybody minimum wage to play the viola in the symphony.
Mm,
And that's so I kind of felt like, this
yeah,
is a mismatch. This is not a good use
yeah.
of my skill set. So that was one of the things that was pulling me back into music.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then today, so now speaking about today, because we're talking about what are the thinking patterns of success. So
Mhm.
for everyone that's listening, and I appreciate everyone that's listening, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all the platforms, maybe not watching the video, but they're listening. What are those thinking patterns? First of all, we use the word thinking patterns, like what are you specifically referring to? What kind of thinking patterns for that success?
Okay. So a thinking pattern is a way of viewing the world. In
Okay.
the work that I do, mindset is a strategic way of thinking. This is different from personality, like whether you're optimistic or pessimistic, whether you're extroverted or introverted. Mindset is a strategic way of thinking. And because
Okay.
it's a strategic way of thinking, it's something that can be learned by anybody. Now, there are many, many different strategic ways of thinking. For example, if you are in a corn maze and you're not sure if you should go left or right,
Right.
there is a strategic way of thinking that says the best thing to do is to run, because the faster you go, the faster you get to the next intersection, the faster you can make another decision, the
Mm.
faster you will eventually get out, because you're getting
I
more
like that.
information faster.
I like
That's,
that.
that
Yeah.
is that is a strategy, a way of thinking. Well, I don't know if you've ever been driving to your friend's house in another city and you feel like you're lost at some point. Maybe you drove past their house. This is, of course, back in the old days where we had
No GPS.
MapQuest or
Yeah.
printed maps, or we'd have GPS on our phone.
Yeah.
But when you're in that situation, driving faster doesn't fix being on the wrong road. What you need to do is pull over immediately and look at the map.
Okay.
So if you're in the corn maze, another strategy, another way of thinking about solving these problems is to just stand on a ladder. Stand on a ladder. Now you can see the whole corn maze. There's no mystery to it.
Okay.
This is a way of thinking. Well, in business, and we map out these thinking patterns with the
Right.
Nobel Nominated Mind Scan. I'll show a picture of it right here.
Okay.
We use this process to map out the thinking patterns of entrepreneurs, and
Okay.
that's where we get to see the blind spots in their way of thinking, the blind
Okay.
spots in that strategy that have been tripping them up, and the breakthroughs that are waiting for them. So, for example, to the corn maze illustration, there's a similar way of thinking that shows up in business for a lot of people. And this way of thinking says effort, work gets results. So if I can take more actions, I will get more results. And on the
Okay.
surface, this makes a lot of sense. If
Okay.
action gets results, then more actions is more results. How are you supposed to argue with that? The problem is the people that tend to pride themselves the most in being action takers, hustle and grind and get out there and go, go, go,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they tend to always have more on their to-do list than they have time to get done.
Mm.
Working harder and faster isn't producing free time.
That's
It's
right.
just causing their brain to look for more things to do.
Right.
And the thinking patterns become blind spots in and of themselves. It makes so much sense that action gets results that they can't see that they're just spinning their wheels. That
Mm.
by constantly working harder and faster, they're not making a difference. They're just moving their food around the plate.
Right. Yeah. I like that example.
So we
I used to do
map
that
out
when
the
I was
thinking
young.
pattern.
Just,
Yeah,
oh,
that's
I already
right.
ate my food. Yeah, when I want to eat, I spread it around. Hey, I'm done. I remember. Oh my god, that was funny. I remember that I used to do that. My mom's like, "Nope, pile that mountain back up. You finish your food." And I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
But
So
that's cool
thinking pattern.
because that's an important point. So about the action, like oh, because I'm doing more, I'm hustling more, I'm getting more. Basically, what people are trying. Actually, what you're doing, because I think, in my opinion, and you could help me with this, is if I'm that person that's doing that, and I feel like I'm doing a lot more, and then the end result, if I don't see the result and in a positive way, that's gonna affect me because then I'm gonna be like, oh man, I did all this work for nothing.
That's frustrating. That
Yeah.
is frustrating. Which gets to the driving analogy. If you feel like you've been searching for a while for their house and you haven't found it, put that strategy down. Pull
Okay.
over, look at the map.
Okay.
In work, when we get to the end of the year and we say to ourselves, next year's going to be different, all I really need to do is just try harder. And then we get to the end of that year and say, no, do over. The kids were sick. Grandma was visiting. We had that vacation. This year doesn't count. Next year, I'm really going to apply myself. And then we get to the end of that year. At some point,
Yeah.
put that strategy down, pull over and look at the map. And the way we do that, the Mindset Gym, is to map out your thinking patterns so we
Okay.
can see the strategy that's in place we can see the blind spot that's been tripping you out.
Mm. So look out the map. Map out, because the map is the one that's going to guide you. Basically, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it shows us the blind spot. It shows us the strengths that we could be leveraging for a faster breakthrough.
Okay.
It shows us why that way of thinking makes sense, but is also keeping you from the results you know life is calling you to. It makes a lot of things easier.
Okay. No, it does. It does, man. I appreciate that tip. Now, out of the questions I have here, because it says here, the why. Why do you claim that being focused on getting things done kills your productivity and checking things off your do list lowers your income?
Yep, we'll answer both of those here. So this is back to that way of thinking.
Okay.
A way of thinking says more action gets more results. What
Okay.
I'm saying is the more you're focused on air quotes getting things done,
Yeah.
the less productive you are. Now, I know that sounds like craziness, so let's unpack it so you can see what's going on. When you do a task, whatever the task is, you return some emails, you reschedule some appointments, you write some content, you send some contracts in the mail, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
when you do a task, it doesn't address the reason that task had to be done to start with.
Start with. Yeah.
It's just moving your food around the plate. So if I return customer service emails today, it doesn't address the reason those customers had those questions to start with. So
Okay.
tomorrow, there's still going to be customer service emails that are going to have to be returned.
Yeah.
It doesn't move the ball forward. If I put contracts in the mail, it doesn't address the reason I was the one putting the contracts in the mail. What is it about our client attraction sequence that causes us to even need contracts? What is
Okay.
it about our fulfillment sequence that causes me to be the one fulfilling them? It doesn't fix the problem.
Okay.
So tomorrow, I'll still be the one doing the work. And when you're doing that task, there's 27 other things that aren't getting done.
It's accumulating.
Yes, this is what
Yeah.
we call a bad strategy that we cannot solve with stubbornness. However, show you a different approach. If instead of spending a block of time returning customer service emails, there's another way to think about that. A way to think about that says the long term is more important than what's urgent today. So instead of returning those emails, I go back through the last month of emails. I document the top 3 questions that we get. I document the top 3 answers. I write out an ABC formula for responding to those types of emails. I go through my virtual assistants. I find the one that's the best at customer service. I train them in this ABC system. Maybe I spend an hour doing that. Maybe tomorrow, my virtual assistant screws it up and puts some wrong answers out there. So I've got to go back and train her again.
Oh,
Fine. Because once I get the system and the person matched up right, then I will never again have to do that task.
okay.
This is a long-term solution that produces free time as a byproduct.
Right. It gives you some free time to do something, focus on another area.
Yeah. So now let's take a look at why it lowers your income to be busy checking things off your to-do list. If you'll look at your to-do list, 9 out of 10 things on there could be delegated for $10 or $15 an hour, provided you had the right system for someone to follow, that they knew how to do it the way you did it, and provided it was the right person for that job. If we had those 2 things in place, anything on your to-do list, at least 90% of it, could be delegated for $10 or $15 an hour. So the more you're focused about checking things off, and like you check it off, you're like, oh, hey, that only took me 10 minutes. And you get this dopamine rush of productivity. And then you check something else off. Oh, hey, that only took me 20 minutes. It's not about how long it takes you to do it. It's about spending your time on the lowest earning task on the list. And you're spending your whole day doing $10 an hour work and wondering why at the end of the day you don't have enough money to outsource it.
Wow. Yeah. That's true. That's very true. So what is a blind spot in someone's thinking patterns?
A blind spot that shows up in the mind scan is a way of thinking that makes sense. And because it makes sense, you can't see what it's hiding because it makes sense. So for example, this way of thinking that says action gets results, like that makes sense. So the person who's like action gets results They have that right up here next to their face, and they're like, action gets results. How are you supposed to argue with that? I mean, that really does make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
And because they are so right about it, they're holding it so close that they aren't even aware of everything else that it's blocking
on the other side.
because
Wow.
it makes so much sense. That's a blind spot.
Ah, okay, okay. So how does the mind scan? Because you have some here with mind scan compared to disc, and what do you talk about when you talk about mind scan?
So the mind scan is that process. I'll hold it up again here.
Okay,
This is the Nobel nominated mind scan that maps out
okay,
the thinking patterns so we can see where your next breakthrough is.
okay,
It is an assessment you can take online. However, it's different from others like DISC or Myers-Briggs.
okay,
They tend to be questionnaire based. And because you're responding to questions, your subconscious is gaming the system. They also tend to be population comparisons. So you
okay,
get your results, and they're like, hey, 25% of the population also has these traits. That's not helpful information.
okay.
If you went to the doctor and the doctor said, you have this condition, and we have a 25% success rate treating it, that's not helpful information. We need to know what side of that 25% line you're on. That's what we need to know. The
Okay,
mind scan is only an assessment of the individual's way of thinking. Because of that, it is a fingerprint as unique as you are.
got it.
And you're also not responding to questions as you go through that assessment. Because of that, your subconscious isn't gaming the system.
Mm, that's good. I like that. I like that a lot. I'm taking my notes here. So, Jared, where people you have a website that people, if they want to reach out to you, do you have
Mindsetperformance.co, .co at the
mindsetperformance.com?
end. And what
That's
I would say
deal.
there is I might have made some like crazy controversial claims or whatever, but you don't have to believe me. You don't have
Okay.
to take my word for it.
Yeah.
Just try the mind scan for yourself and see if you think this is a good fit for the way you do business.
Okay. So you have it for basically like a tool. It's a tool that someone could use, practice with it, and apply it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they could take the mind scan for itself.
Okay.
It's an assessment.
An assessment, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And look at the results and see if what it reveals um, is helpful for their situation.
Oh, that's
This
good.
is only for people that put a premium price on personal development.
Okay.
If you're at a place in business where you still really believe all you need to do is work harder, I'm not going to try to talk you out of that.
Yeah, of
Like,
course.
go bang your head against that wall. But after a couple years, you're going to look back and go, I've been working harder and I'm still at the same place. Maybe effort isn't what I need. Come to
Mm.
the mindset gym. Let's map out the thinking patterns and see where your real potential lies.
I like that. The mindset gym. I like that a lot. Yeah, I like that a lot. I have to go to that gym once in a while. But I'm gonna do that assessment. I'm gonna do that assessment myself and see what results I get on that because I could use that tool. Absolutely. Now, you have a book also that's gonna be coming out, or do you already have a book?
Well, book is in the works. This is a mock up I
Ah,
keep in the background to keep me inspired to finish the final edits. It is
okay.
not ready for Amazon yet. I
Okay.
need to get those final edits done.
Good, good. But what's the can you share the title with
Yeah,
us?
yeah, yeah. This is the thinking patterns of success.
Oh,
How
the thinking
seven-figure
patterns of
earners get more done with
wow.
less effort.
Ah, man. Okay, perfect. When more or less is that gonna be on Amazon? The end of the year?
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We're
I'm
just
definitely gonna
a couple final edits away. We'll get it done.
absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. I'll definitely have that book in my library here at home for
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely. So Jared, so what do you feel like with entrepreneurs? Have you dealt with like entrepreneur? What can you say for that entrepreneurship, especially now that it's something that's very common and people are, getting into it. Sort of say like, oh, I could do this entrepreneurship, and then they have, you know, all those actions. Oh, I'm getting a lot of things done. I'm hustling. And then now sudden, wait a minute. I think I have to go back to this, 9 to 5 thing because entrepreneurship didn't work out. But what do you think with that kind of thinking?
Um, Golly, there's so much in there.
I
Uh,
know.
if
Just
they're
just to, just to
going,
res, briefly on that.
if they have been an entrepreneur and it didn't work out for them and they want to go back to traditional income, I would say there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Entrepreneurship isn't for everyone.
Hmm.
Risk isn't for everyone. Losing everything and starting over isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. There is no shame in that. There are tremendous benefits in traditional employment and having that peace of mind of empty nights and weekends. There's tremendous
Yeah.
benefits. I do not look down on that at all.
No, absolutely.
If somebody still says that, like, they want to be an entrepreneur, I would push back a little bit and say, I don't think you really do. I think you value security more than you value self expression.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's
absolutely.
absolutely nothing wrong with that. The people that are wired to be entrepreneurs, they are different. It doesn't cross their mind, the security and the risk, because they are going to create their own safety net. It
Yes,
doesn't cross their mind whether or not family and friends support them. They could care less. They do
that's
not
true.
need your support. They're going to
Yes.
do it anyways because they're
Yeah.
internally wired for that. So they're just different. But even if somebody is wired, truly wired as an entrepreneur, because they are fine taking risks, they're fine losing everything, they're fine having to recreate themselves, they're fine failing, they're fine with that because they
Yeah.
value self-expression so much. Even for them to pause and take a traditional job for a while, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, absolutely
There
not.
is something to be said for rest, for empty nights and weekends.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. So, Jevon, I appreciate it, man, because what you have said, I have truly received a lot, and I appreciate that. I'm definitely going to be listening to this podcast again. But before we leave, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience that we may have left out that you want to share?
Um, just if you had a sign on your office, that sign would say, "If I'm doing the work, I'm falling behind," and getting you a trigger to remind you to think at a higher level about solving those problems. How else
Okay.
could this be done without me being the one having to do it?
Okay. Perfect. And if you get stuck, always go back to the map. I like that, man. I appreciate that. Jerry, I'm gonna let you go, man. I appreciate your time. I know you have a busy schedule, but man, listen, I appreciate you reaching out and asking, if there was any topics or ideas that I would receive, and you did. You threw that at me, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate that for looking at this podcast and whatnot. Like I said, the podcast is made for the people. Just a podcast is it's pretty much about this. It's about talking about real people, real experiences and whatnot. And I appreciate your time. I'm gonna be looking for that book for sure in Amazon and looking to get my copy. So I appreciate it, man.
All right, big guy. We'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. Take care. Be safe.
Okay, man. Bye.
Thank you. All right, folks. Well, there you have it, guys. Once again, look up the Young Entrepreneur Mindset podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Shortly after I finish here, I will definitely be having the audio download. As usual, it's going to be on Anchor, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, pretty much everywhere a podcast can be heard. So please subscribe to my channel. Greatly appreciate the feedback and whatnot, and the likes, comments, and whatnot. So if you are wanting to follow this gentleman and his information that he has, I invite you to look him up on Facebook, Instagram. I've also seen him there, and YouTube and whatnot under Jared Hanning. So I'm going to have all the information there shortly. So guys, thank you again for joining this podcast. And before I leave, as usual, dry mailbox. I already have my products here, as you know. If you're in the Orlando area, you need a mailbox replacement, mailbox insert that keeps the mail high and dry. There it is. We have the products here. Also, I have my wife and I went to natural supplements. So if you need any type of natural supplements, please, I invite you to look up this website there that I have there on the screen. And before I leave, I want to leave you on a positive note, a scripture that I truly love of myself, of my one of my favorites. It's on the Romans 12:2, and it says, "Do not conform to the pattern," we've been talking today, "of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Once again, do not conform to the patterns of this. So in other words, don't be accustomed to the pattern. I like another verse that says, "Do not custom to the patterns of this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of your mind." So there you have go, folks. You have it all there. All the information is there. Please follow him, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next show. Thank you. Be safe and God bless. Take care.